This is Professional Life Crisis. I'm your host, Amanda. And by now, I'm a damn near professional at having a life crisis. This podcast is here to help you get through those messy, uncertain times riddled with ramen noodles and self-doubt. If you're an ambitious, curious young professional trying to pave your way in the world, it's not as scary as I once thought it was. But I really wish I'd had someone to tell me that. So today I'm super excited. Thanks for coming on the podcast. We go way back.
Way back.
way back to public school, baby. And today we are going to be kicking off the series, WTF is fill in the blank. So every time I do the series, we're going to be talking about what the fuck is a different career. And today's What the Fuck Is series is all about digital media and paid advertising. Do you want to tell everybody who doesn't already know how amazing you are a little bit about your background and what you're up to?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. I've been in the digital media space for about 5 years now. I had a short stint as an adjunct professor at UCLA.
Which was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it was so fun. I loved it. That's always my personal plug. It's been a lot of fun, growing my career. I started out as a, very associate level person at an agency, and I've really worked my way up, bouncing from client to client, different agencies to agencies, and I'm really learning a lot about the digital media space over the course of the last 5 years, where, even something like your entire social media space has evolved. Where I started in 2019, there was no TikTok. So just, yeah, wild, right? And now I consider myself a TikTok expert.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Truly. Right. Literally teaching lectures on TikTok.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for us to have this conversation and just demystify a little bit about what it means to be in a career in paid advertising, what all the sort of different options are within that, because it blows my mind how many different types of roles there even are within paid advertising and digital media. And I just hope that if anybody is interested in exploring a career in advertising, in digital media, that it clears some things up and helps people to understand what it actually is, as opposed to what Google says it is. So we're going to get into it.
Yeah, excited. So I started out my career essentially after college. I went into wedding planning, which I really enjoyed, but it was really emotionally taxing. Mm-hmm. So then I flipped from being a wedding planner about a year in, and then instead of wedding planning, I went to media planning, which is really actually what I always wanted to do. So in college, I got a degree in marketing and visual arts. I have two BSs. Big BSs coming out of college. Yeah. Yeah, from SUNY New Paltz, all the, which great school. Shout out SUNY New Paltz. Not only a degree, also an education. That's their slogan.
That's
yeah. I loved going to college there.
That's cute.
Right, but how much do you actually learn in college? Everything that you learn is really coming from your real life experience. But I got both of those degrees because I wanted to go into advertising. I specifically wanted to have an edge in my industry, having both a creative background and an analytical business, insight.
Wow, were you really thinking about all that back then? Damn,
yeah.
I had no thoughts about anything back then.
Yes, I
started in music
did.
school. I was I guess I had the one thought that was I should probably get a real job as well. I love music, but I'm not going to pay the kind of bills that I'm trying to be having.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that clarity of thought. I was this sounds interesting. Let me try decision science. Seems like a good businessy background, but without the finance and the accounting, which it was.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So good hypothesis on that one for me.
Yeah.
So you had a lot more forethought.
Yeah, really since the fifth grade. I remember watching the Super Bowl when I was really elementary, middle school, and being wow, I want to be the person who is creating those advertisements.
That's an insane thought for a fifth grader.
Yes, yeah.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Yeah.
You definitely were.
I would have won. Back in fifth grade, I would have won. But me now, current me compared to fifth grade me totally would have won.
Wow. Oh my God. Wait, is there more to unpack there? Adulthood, self-doubt creeping in and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Some inner child work to be uncovered.
Yeah. I was that fifth grader that they're all right, math B. And I'm got this. And then I'd win. I'd always I'd perform. Now the performance anxiety is really fucking real. It's
Isn't that so shitty? As we get older, sometimes we even these inherent talents and traits that we had when we were a kid, or that we weren't afraid to explore when we were kids.
Yeah.
Now we have all this wrapped up anxiety about shit.
Yeah. Like, what are people going to perceive of me? Like, if I don't live up to this, not even persona, but like confidence that I have,
Yeah.
like, is that, going to be just like even worse of a feeling? So it's like balancing, like, if I fail, like, is that feeling worth not even showing that I have confidence in this field? So it's, it's tough. And especially being a woman too, I think that adds a lot of like emotional
I think so too.
stuff too.
Yeah. And we don't show up with like as much raw confidence for having absolutely no merit
Right.
than men.
Right.
We feel like we have to work toward it and work at it a lot longer than men to feel credible, which is such bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
It's such bullshit.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, okay.
Throughout my degrees.
You knew that you wanted to get into the field of advertising. Took a little skirt detour into wedding planning for a little while. And then you started your career actually in advertising.
Correct. So I made my way to an advertising agency that focused on digital media. And I was there.
Also, I love to like define terms at the like lowest possible level so that literally a fifth grader could understand what it is.
Yeah.
So just like, what is digital media? Like if somebody's like, I might be interested in this, but I don't know anything about that.
Right.
What is it?
That's a great question too, because I think specifically in the advertising field, there's so much jargon, but also it's kind of like, does it all mean the same thing? Does it mean something separately? Because they're like, okay, marketing, like what is that? And that's just like overall
such a
huge broad
umbrella term.
Yeah. So then you kind of like funnel it down a little bit to advertising, which I'd say is a subset of marketing personally.
I know there's some different schools of thought about that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So then when you think in terms of like digital media, that is the advertisements that you see on your either social media, say you're just on the internet and there's like a recipe that you clicked on and you're scrolling down and you're like, okay, like add water, eggs, flour, advertisement for Hershey Park, and then
And like a million other things, story about husband, kids, etc. Gotta get to the recipe so that there's room for all those ads.
Right. It's right, exactly.
That's what it is. It's just fluff so that there's more space on the page for ads.
Yes, correct.
More money in the pocket of the blogger.
Right.
Yeah.
So like you put on the ads like literally on the internet.
I was like too old when I learned that.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
So like that's part of digital media. And then even you can consider things like, well, there's like Google ads, right? So like you search anything on Google and the top 2 are like paid sponsored links, like that's digital media. Really anything online that is not a billboard or like TV is technically also digital media, right? So it's not, you're not doing like newspaper advertisements, it's not billboards.
It's not physical, it's not on a storefront, it's like
literally online.
Would you consider influencer to be part of digital media or separate?
Oh, for sure. Okay. So I think influencer lives under digital media and like your funnel of marketing.
Yeah, so we've got marketing, advertising, digital media. Okay, then influencer could be under there.
Right, and influencer is a form of creative, I'll say. And like also a tactic, but like you can have your branded assets, which would be like say for Aquaphor. They can have like Aquaphor products in their ads, and that's a branded asset. And then you can have an influencer saying like if Alex Earl was like,
get rid of me.
Yeah, get rid of me.
I literally I couldn't sleep this morning, so I was doom scrolling on TikTok, watching her videos, and her video with her like applying her little like cheek tint and her, like it's just like so natural. The way some people are able to incorporate products into their ads, which is how they get great sponsorships.
Right.
Okay. So branded versus what would you call the one that's like?
I'd say influencer.
Okay.
But then you have like different types of like influencers. So you can have like your basic creator, or like say you can subset into something like maybe a dermatologist is running an ad for like Neutrogena. So then that's gonna be like a derm focused, or you can even probably put like celebrity and different. You have macro, micro influencers. So there's a bunch of different kind of like subsets that you can use too. So, but yeah,
okay, cool.
Really valuable on social, which is again social media part of digital media. But that's what I specialize in, paid social media advertising.
And that is when a brand is paying for ad space separate from influencer, right? Like I've done influencer marketing from the brand side where we contract influencers to talk about our product, to show the product, to incorporate it into their daily life, like lifestyle routine videos. But you're actually running the paid ads that brands are putting on these platforms, like could be paid on Facebook, Google, Instagram, TikTok.
Yes. So like you can have paid influencer advertising if you're working an influencer and you're like, okay, we want you to post this organically to your feed.
Yep.
Like I could be responsible, if it's in our strategy, to take that creative that they made and put
promoting
dollars behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's like on TikTok, I think it's called Spark Ads, right? Like the influencer
Yes.
makes the content, they put it on their profile, and then the brand pays to
Yes.
basically boost that post.
Yes,
Like, hey,
exactly.
we will pay for eyes on this video now.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because I feel like Spark Ads are a mutually beneficial strategy, or at least they used to be the way that they were formatted, where the influencer themselves was still the one that would come up in the video, and also when you clicked to explore their page, it was the influencer's page. I've recently noticed on TikTok it's changing. I think there's a new structure for how they're doing Spark Ads, and instead it's leading you to the product, which I don't love that, because I think if you're benefiting from the influencer relationship, then there should be that mutual benefit for both the brand and for the influencer. But so that's a really interesting tactic with Spark Ads. Does that same thing exist on Instagram?
Yes, you have the capability. So
What's that called?
it's called really like paid partnership ads,
Okay.
but that's also kind of like an umbrella term, because on the back end too, there's different ways that you can upload a creative. So one is like that sparking concept on TikTok, or like you really call it like boosting or like dark posting on Meta, which inherently is more
giant umbrella company
Right,
now
well,
for
Meta.
all
Oh my
all
gosh.
ads.
Oh my
Facebook,
god. I'm just
Instagram.
like big eye roll. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's also such a stupid name.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
at Mark Z, it's
yeah.
pretty stupid.
Yeah, con suck. Get out of here. Come on. Yeah, but also like better than X, so we'll give you that one.
Okay, true.
Yeah. We'll give you that one, Zuck.
At least they didn't destroy the entire logo. You know?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true. Yeah. You did something right. It's all right.
Yeah.
So there's different options, and as who's running the paid advertisement, that digital media, you have control over the URL that you're sending the advertiser to. So you also, depending on how you upload the advertisement, whether it's a Spark, which is right on TikTok, where you literally are kind of like inputting a code and then you're really just boosting that ad.
Yeah.
Or you can upload the ad and say, okay, that means that we're going to use our brand handle, and then
So that would
send it
mean,
towards a product
in
page.
basic terms, Neutrogena posts a video from Neutrogena's own account, and then they pay to promote it.
Yeah.
Where the other one was influencer posts Neutrogena video with the product, and then Neutrogena can also pay money behind the scenes to boost that and get it
Correct.
shown to more people.
Correct. Something you can also do, because I think it's really important to build your organic presence as a brand on, whatever social platform you're on, is to license your influencers to be able to post their content on your own brand handle. So what that means is essentially like say
They're like able to post a video and it pops up on Neutrogena's website or on their that was ancient, on their TikTok. Sorry, I'm on TikTok.
back to 2014. Yeah. We just transported ourselves back to high school. Just kidding. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So like your feed on TikTok, right? So it's like Aquaphor's handle, they're posting Alex Earl's Aquaphor loving video on their feed, so that if someone goes to the Aquaphor handle and they're scrolling, they're like, oh, I see Alex Earl literally on the Aquaphor page. Like, that's a really good thing to build your organic presence as a brand. And then what that means too is that you can actually spark that creative from your own brand handle.
So you don't have to do the whole thing where you talk with the influencer, like, oh, can you send me the Spark code? Like, this is how long we want to run it for, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
There's all these, like, licensing agreements that you have to do behind the scenes if you want to license an influencer's content in that way.
Well, you're likely going to need that anyway.
Okay.
So
So it's still their face
Right.
on your brand. Right. Okay.
But I'd say now that we've been in influencer marketing, I'd say a good 4 or 5 years, it's really been like kind of like a pivotal aspect of all digital media, but specifically, right, paid social media.
Yeah.
That's pretty standard. Right now, people are understanding how to negotiate in contracts. People are understanding, like, their worth based off their followers, their engagement, right? It's like
how many
understanding.
views their videos are getting on average.
Right.
Yep.
So I'd say now, like, having brands acquiring that kind of licensing for utilizing the creative that the influencer's creating is pretty standard, which is good.
Agreed.
It
I
should
agree.
be.
And I'm seeing more and more, not necessarily standardization, but there is more of an understanding about the process when I
Yes.
work with influencers, even the people who are sort of just starting out and just sort of being paid for their work for the first time.
Yeah.
And I feel like the reason that influencer marketing is so effective is because, like what you said, like if Alex Earle is suddenly showing up on Neutrogena's page being like, this moisturizer is the best thing ever, it's because people, A, recognize her and they trust her.
Yes.
So it's not just a brand touting this product. Same thing if you have, you know, a dermatologist, if Dr. Pimple Popper comes on and it's like, this is the product, then bitches be like, all right, yeah, it's the product. I trust her. And so that's a huge part of it, right? It's like trust. It's and it's like a genuine referral, well, quote unquote genuine, but paid genuine, referral to something. And I think about my own spending and my own purchasing behaviors. Yeah. Even if I'm trying to find a restaurant, I will go on Yelp and I will see, like, do other people tend to like this product? Right. It's an endorsement in a different way. Right. But same thing. It's like if an influencer's talking about a product that they really like, they have some like before and after or some story involved with that product, we're going to buy it. Right. We're going to buy it.
You're going to literally take their word and their endorsement as like their stamp of approval, and because you trust this person and feel like a connection to them, which I think is why TikTok was really such a change in the game for the whole social media, is because people were feeling more connected to their influencer and their celebrities.
It's so much more authentic.
Right. And you're so much more intimately involved in their life. Where I remember like Alyssa Milano was like coming on during COVID, and it's like she is making this video and she's posting it.
Yeah. It's not her team. Right. It's not a, you know, group of people. Like, it's not her PR. It's her. Yes. With her phone. Right. And her selfie cam. Being like, this is what I care about. Right. This is
or someone like The Rock, who's like always like, stuff like, hey, we're out here, you know. Right. But it's like, you feel like you are knowing the celebrity in a much more intimate kind of way.
You do.
Than their even like Instagram. Where
because
then
Instagram, I feel like it's now the place where everybody has their like brand, you know, like their personal brand is on Instagram. Yeah. But TikTok's the place where you actually get to have a conversation with them. You actually get to like talk to them as if they were your friend or your, you know, advisor for skincare. Right. Whatever. Right.
So it poses a lot more opportunities for brands to come in and utilize that and strategically place that into their marketing plan.
Yeah, it's genius. Honestly, the brands who aren't doing influencer marketing, I feel like you gotta do it.
You gotta do it.
You gotta try it.
Yeah. Because also, too, like, a big goal of digital media overall is to be thumb stopping, right? Like, think about how quickly you're on your Instagram Reels or even your TikTok and you just scroll.
Boom. Right, it's like Tinder. It's addicting. Just like, boom, boom, boom. What? TikTok's next?
Yeah. Swipe. Yeah. So you want to, like, be that thumb stopping one advertisement or influencer where you're like, oh, I love The Rock. Like, let me watch this video. And then you're like, oh, like, it's an advertisement. Where maybe you're like, okay, I'll keep that in the back of my mind. Where it's like, okay, now I want to, like, you know, buy copper tone sunscreen or, like, whatever it is. Yeah. Or I want to, like, I'm kind of discrediting it because it's an ad. But, like, you're still getting the recognition and awareness.
And, like, it even might spark your memory about something that you were thinking about buying. You're like, oh, yeah, in the back of my mind, I gotta buy sunscreen, whatever. And then you see the copper tone ad. And it's not, like, this immediate thing, like you said. It's not like, oh, my God, I need to buy copper tone. No, it's just like, okay, I went to Walmart. Like, yeah, let me grab this one. Oh, it's copper tone. Great.
Right. It's like, oh, I recognize that. Yes.
Yeah. Agreed.
Which is really important. Which is also wild because when I started in this industry back in 2019, TikTok wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yes. Like in 4 years. And you think like, okay, yeah, like that's like when you're a freshman to when you're a senior. And imagine like the world changed so incredibly. Well, one, obviously the pandemic, but like we don't have to talk about that. Yeah. But like the incorporation of TikTok into everybody's lives has, I think, really altered like behavioral tendencies, I think, of people on social media and like how we communicate on social media, like the purpose of it, and evolving into TikTok is where you go for more like entertainment, and then it really pulled Instagram and like Meta overall into more of like, okay, like you see updates from your friends, but like it's a persona. Yeah. Right. So like the differentiation across social platforms really came to fruition once TikTok enter the game.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. And before, do you think that they were all just a little bit too similar? Yeah. Like all kind of accomplishing the same purpose?
Yeah. Right. So Snapchat, you like, that's the one app where like you open the app and it goes to the camera, which is their differentiator, right? And then you have something like Pinterest, which I personally love, shout out Pinterest, where people go there kind of similar to a Yelp, where you're like, you're trying to discover something. Yeah. So like that's helpful when you're trying to have like a lower funnel, and by lower funnel, I mean, you're really trying to get someone to convert and purchase your product. Right. Whereas like,
it's like
upper
past
funnel
the
is awareness
phase where, you know, we've moved through the consideration phase. Now we're like like, baby, I'm looking to buy a healthy meal this week, or I'm looking to cook something.
Right.
I need a recipe.
So, like, McCormick, if you're not on Pinterest, please do. Like, you should be.
I love McCormick spices.
I know.
I've been using the garlic urban wine packet chicken marinade since, like,
So
my
good.
parents are the ones who
That's my Nana used
started
to, and I'm
eating
like,
it.
whatever she did, I will continue to do, because that woman
In
knew
Nana
what
we
she was
trust.
doing.
In Nana we trust. Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, yeah, with TikTok entering the game, I agree that TikTok has become that place where people are so much more authentically connecting with now, like, their fans, basically. Like, their fans or followers, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, even personally, I'm trying to navigate what my relationship is with Instagram, because it does all feel like a little, like, contrived, or like it's all set up to look a very certain way. And you know, videos on TikTok and videos on Instagram look incredibly different. The ones that, like, you know, go viral. They're not like super produced. They're not like influencer photo shoots. They're like someone talking to their camera about something that really pissed them off.
Super organic feeling. Yeah.
There's also another form of influencer content that I wanted to talk about briefly, which is UGC, user generated content.
Yes.
What do you think? So first of all, maybe you can tell people what that is and how brands should be using it.
That is a great question. UGC, user generated content. That essentially is when anyone on any digital platform, but like you're thinking probably most social specific, right? So someone on TikTok is, you know, out with their friends, and then they're drinking a Pepsi. And then kind of like the feeling towards Pepsi, your overall sentiment toward Pepsi is really positive within the video, and the video goes viral for whatever.
Some unrelated reason.
Some unrelated, right.
Yeah.
Could be related, but like even unrelated. Oh my gosh, wait, actually, I have the best example. All right. Cut that part out.
Okay, we're going back.
We're going back. Best example of user-generated content was that guy that was playing the Fleetwood Mac song on the skateboard with the ocean spray cranberry
Oh my
juice.
God, yes. Talk about vibes.
Right,
Like,
right.
This
You're
man
like, I want to be
had it.
him. Right. Yes. Like, he is living his best life, and he's on a skateboard and drinking ocean spray cranberry juice.
I'm like, what a random choice.
Right. But now everyone is like, if I want that vibe,
That lifestyle.
Right.
Like, if I want
I
to
need
become a skateboarder, like, skating off into the sunset.
yes, with like
I
a feather in
need-
his hair, the tattoos, like, so great.
Yeah.
But like, then it's like, they got, I believe it was over 50 million, it's probably higher now,
That's insane.
of user-generated content where someone used their
their
product,
product,
was using their product in a video and was able to garner awareness. And by awareness, technically that means views, comments, likes, right?
Yeah.
Like people just
Engaging
engaging
with
with your video. Naturally. Like that cost them nothing.
Right. Which I'm sure they partnered with him later.
Oh,
Like,
they did. I think they
a huge
compensated
thing out of
him
that.
for it too, because
That's
as
awesome,
like a
'cause
thank
it
you.
blew up so much. It
Yeah.
probably like skyrocketed their sales. Because I've been on the other side of that, where so I've worked for small startups that have used influencer marketing, and the days that you have a campaign go viral like that, and not even on that scale, like I'm talking like a few million views and like a couple 100,000 likes.
Yeah.
It's still the best day that your company has had in a long time.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
that is like super exciting, both like as a marketer, but also for the company. And when something like that happens, and you got that guy,
a fly on the
ocean
wall
spray guy,
in that,
there,
oh
right?
my gosh.
I know.
Like,
Their marketing department must have been going insane.
yes. I think for like the entire quarter, they were probably like, wow.
Yeah, they're like bonuses.
Yeah.
right?
It's like, woo-hoo.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that was honestly, that was an amazing rundown. I feel like you even cleared some things up for me, and I like sort of work in this field a little bit accidentally. I sort of tripped into this field, if I'm being honest.
Yes. Isn't that crazy how that happens?
Chief of staff to director of marketing. Like, okay, fine, let's go. But if you were starting over now and also considering like how digital media and TikTok have really changed since we were in school and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do, what kind of advice would you give to somebody that's trying to get into this field?
That's a great question. And I really think, I think universities need to evolve their practices as to how they're preparing their students to go into whatever field they're chosen or looking to head into.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so how many people are like, oh, I have a degree in so-and-so and I ended up here. Like,
Yep.
Not that like in college you need to know what you want to do, or but it's like,
but colleges could do a better job of helping you to find out what you want to do.
yes, yeah, like we shouldn't need this podcast, right?
We
like,
shouldn't.
No,
but we freaking do.
But we do, right?
Yeah.
So, one, I think that needs to be a thing. But I could have used so much more clarity on what job I should be looking for with my degree.
Okay, like different path options.
Exactly. Yes. Like with a marketing degree, do you want to go into sales? Do you want to go into digital media? Do you want to go into, like creative advertising? Like, do you want to like be on the back end, like actually making the creative, like something like that, right?
Would that be like the people who makes the Super Bowl ads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which,
that must be fun to a certain extent, but like so stressful. And,
oh my gosh.
So much depends on one freaking day of the year.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't think I could handle it.
Like, woof.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, big pressure on that account.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one, I think that is something that we as a society for, kids and humans that are going through university and college, like I think they need clarity on what's next. Like, what is my next step? Like, okay, you help me build my resume, but like, what job do I apply to? Like, what is the title of a job that I should apply to at what company? And like, I don't think that's hand-holding either. Like, I think it's literally preparing your students for success, and we need to do a better job of it. But side tangent.
Yeah, 100%. Like, preach.
Yeah. I think if you want to go into the field of digital media, my recommendation is to, and this is on the paid side, right? So like, if you want to be an influencer, that's a whole other conversation. That's a whole other three other podcasts that you could do on that. If you'd like to go into digital media, which is essentially you're strategizing, buying, and activating ads on the internet in some capacity, my recommendation would be to work for an agency your first year, 2, 3. And if you like the atmosphere, which like is very work hard, play hard, but you think like, what's his name, Mark Ham in Mad Men? Like, it's very...
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I, like, don't know any movies. Okay. I'm that
TV
person.
show, the TV show.
Oh, see? Yeah.
It's like an advertising show.
Someone will be like, oh, you know that movie, blah, blah, blah. Or, like, they'll say a reference, and I just blank face.
Right.
And they're like, that was a joke. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I don't watch any movies or shows.
Right. And then you, like, made the joke. It's like, oh, yeah, it's on the list. It's like, there's no list.
There has never been a list.
I am never going to watch this.
And there will not be a list.
Yeah, I have no interest in catching up in
that
area.
At all.
Yeah, like, I'm good. Thank you. But... So digital media, and especially the agency lifestyle, is very much work hard, play hard. Whereas like, yeah, some days you're going to be working a lot of hours, but also it's like a really encouraging environment to learn your foundation of really all things digital advertising. Yeah. Right? You understand how different agencies work together to be able to produce the overarching campaign, right? You have your creative agency, you have your digital advertising agency, which controls all the paid media. The
creative agency would be the ones to like make the video.
Yes.
Like plainest terms.
Yes.
They film, they edit it, they make it look nice.
Yes.
Okay.
For stuff that's not influencer.
Right. Otherwise, influencers are doing that for you. They're basically your creative agency and you just pay them.
Right. But you would need a separate influencer agency. You have your brand, your client. And then, you can have a separate PR agency, you can have a separate organic content agency to build up your organic presence. Like, there's really a lot of different agencies that you could go into. So I think that's
And if you do marketing at a startup, you'll just do all of this yourself.
Yeah. So,
it's insane.
So have fun with that.
Yeah. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This explains why I was overwhelmed.
Yes. Yeah, because literally for a client, there are
teams to do all of these
massive teams to do all of the things that you did as one human. Yes. Like literally for like a large brand with a lump sum of money for their advertising budget. Like say, even like
we did not have that.
Yeah, you're looking at like 50 to 60 people working on this, and you did that.
That honestly makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Okay. Separate conversation for startup marketing.
Yeah.
That'll be you interview me for that or something.
Yeah. Because like I don't know anything about that because I would go.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so there's the creative agency, which makes your videos look pretty.
Yeah.
Then there is the paid agency that actually like runs the ad.
Yes.
Okay.
They do strategy for like, this is when you should run your influencer ads. This is like the time of year that you should plus up your spending, right? Like these are the platforms that you should run on, whether it's TV, right? Literally running something if you're watching like cable, which like, I don't know who does that anymore, but
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I've watched cable since I lived with my parents.
Right. So whether it's cable, digital media, social media.
Cablevision better watch out when all the boomers RIP.
You know.
They're going to be out of
RIP
business.
cable.
Like,
Yeah.
they better start partnering with Netflix ASAP.
Yeah, because I think they're already past their time.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they're still afloat. But,
Same seas.
right, so I have all these different agencies. So I think looking towards what you are most closely looking to do, where it's like, okay, do you want to understand the strategy behind it, which would be your digital media agency? Do you want to look to boost and emphasize a brand image? Then that would be your organic creative agency, right? So they're building up like the Instagram handle and the Instagram page
For that brand.
For the brand. Your creative agency makes the advertisements that are brand focused, not influencer made. And then your influencer agency, which is the ones that negotiate the contracts, they, RFP, which is a request for proposal against your influencers, and they decide, okay, we think this person and they're following their community is going to be the right fit for your brand for this activation. And by activation, I mean marketing campaign.
Now, who would be the like head originator of the project, or like the super agency, or is it the brand that goes to like all these different agencies and says, oh, like, we want to run this great campaign. We need a creative agency to make this cool video. We need a paid agency to like run it on TikTok. We also need all these other things. Like, who's the brain?
Right. Who's the puppet master?
Who's the original brain? Yeah.
That's going to be your brand. That's your client. And how that process kicks off is essentially they will issue a brief, which is also an RFP, right? Request for proposal, to all of your agencies to say, this is our goal. And they'll issue you essentially a KPI, key performance indicator, which generally for business is likely going to be revenue.
Yeah.
Or your return on ad spend. Yeah.
Right.
It's money. They want money. They want to sell their product. They want to make money. That is always their goal.
Brand awareness is nice, but brand awareness, if it doesn't equal money,
then doesn't matter.
Yep.
Although it's interesting for even like a brand like Pepsi, right? It's like they have mass awareness.
Yeah.
They have mass sales. They run the halftime show. So their strategy might even be more awareness just because they want to be more top of mind than Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Because people mostly like don't really care about soda. It's like some people are like, I don't know, diehard cola, and some people like diehard
Some people
Pepsi.
are crazy. Also, my grandpa worked for Pepsi. So, like, growing up, we were a Pepsi family. Like, there were no Coke products in the house. And then, like, this was bad, but a couple years ago, my mom just, like, she, like, flipped. And I think something, okay, I think what really happened is Pepsi changed their formula.
Interesting.
And she didn't like it as much anymore because the sugars were, like, artificial tasting or something.
Okay.
I forget. I'll have to bring her on and ask her.
Yeah.
So she switched to Diet Coke, and every time she drinks it, she's like, oh my god, Grandpa's rolling around in his grave.
right.
Like, huge companies like that, I agree, they probably have different goals because they already, like, capitalize, like, so much of the market, or they already command so much of the market. They are maybe just looking for more awareness because it's the thing that comes out of someone's mouth. It's like, yeah, I'll take a Pepsi.
Right. They just want to be more top of mind.
But for most brands, I would say, like, brand awareness is only as valuable as you can prove to your company executives that it is actually generating money.
Right. So the brief or the RFP that the brand, your client, is going to issue to you, essentially, and you have to take whatever their goal is and put forth the best plan for them to achieve that. And then that is where generally your digital media agency, the one that does the planning and the strategy and the activation, will work with all of the other agencies to literally work cohesively, like literally all these different agencies like coming together. And you're presenting a plan to your client to be like, this is how you're going to achieve your goal. And that is how everything starts. And then you go from there. And then
that's kind of what you do, right? That's like, you're in the brain organization.
Yes, I'm in the brain organization. I work for the digital media agency.
Yeah.
So then even within that agency, you have people that are more planners, like planner strategy, and they are looking at, okay, if you want this amount of reach and you want to reach each of those users at, say, a 3 times frequency. So that's like you see an ad for Aquaphor 3 times a week, right? Understanding the amount of people you'll actually reach, the amount of times you're going to reach them. And then we think based off of that, you are going to achieve your goal
in XYZ
time. Right. Those are your strategy planners.
Wow.
Then
big brands are doing so much more strategy and
it's a lot
planning than
it's
startups.
a lot. And there's the tools that you can use, like the planning tools where you're able to understand frequency and reach and demographic for, really all of your subsets of, like, say you want to target only females, or you want to target only males, or you want to only target people that are between 18 and 24. It's like understanding too your key demographic for your product is like a huge thing too, where it's like you want to accurately make sure that you're targeting these people.
Yeah.
So those are your planners and strategists at the digital media agency. And then on the flip side, which is what I specialize in, is the activation aspect of it. So then utilizing the plan and strategy that team put forward and saying, okay, that means that you are going to want to run this amount of money against this amount of time on Instagram specifically and TikTok specifically. And we are going to use these different objectives against these different creatives to achieve that goal.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Right. And then we're the ones that we are, hands-on keys in the platform. And like hands-on keys, that just means like you're literally like typing, you're at your computer, you're like, little like OG nerd with you're pushing up your little like glasses. You're like,
you're doing the thing.
the brain trust. Yeah. The executors. Yeah. And so you implement the campaign, you run the campaign, you optimize the campaign to make sure that you're achieving optimal frequencies, efficiencies, right? Like say you want 200 million views for this campaign. You want to make sure that your cost per view is the lowest and most efficient you can get, because then you're actually getting your client
more return on the money that they spent.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's part of the job as well. And why I'm going to detail on this too is because if you want a job in digital media or advertising, or even one day, honestly, work and run a brand, like say you want to be the brand manager for Aquaphor and you want to be the one calling the shots, I recommend starting at an agency, because you are learning the inner mechanism and all the behind the scenes aspects and strategies and thought processes that have to go into creating a campaign before you can kind of like take this, the bird's eye view and say, okay, I want Aquaphor to evolve into this type of, brand.
Yeah.
Like, an analogy would be working in stage crew before you're a director.
Oh my God, love that theater
reference.
Thank you.
Yeah. You need to like understand how a show runs before you can direct people what to do.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes. I feel like that'd be a great thing for a CMO too. Like if you want to be the CMO, you probably should have worked for a brand. You should have worked for an agency to understand like how you develop the relationships with the agencies, what the goals are.
Right.
And then you can successfully direct a team.
Right.
That's great.
Because even like, and now too, that like agencies are extremely prevalent. Like a lot of companies don't necessarily have in-house marketing teams, which like that would also be a good thing to work for. But I think really like the grind and being in the customer service aspect of working for an agency where you do have a client, like you do have to report to someone, right? You're in customer service. The amount of learning actually, I feel like is exponential compared to if you were in-house, because it's not necessarily the same grind or even like anxiety. Right? I think like a little anxiety is good about your job. Just a sprinkle.
Just enough to like keep it interesting.
Yeah.
You don't want it to be too fucking bland.
Oh no. Yeah. So I think that'll really help propel your career, and also you'll have a really strong base understanding of real life advertising.
Yeah. That's great. And it seems like you could also break it down based on, like, if you're more of the creative type and you're into, like, filmmaking, or if you're interested in actually creating art and video, then you should go into the more creative side.
Right.
If you're more, like, a visionary and you want to be part of, like, the strategic direction, then you go more into that, like, digital media paid agency.
Yes.
If you are more interested in, like, projecting and planning, it seems like within digital media, trying to get this right, but within digital media, you should be on the like planning side.
Yes. Yep.
So there's a lot of different avenues, and I feel like there are very different types of personality styles and interests that could actually lead to these different careers.
Yes.
You know, like you'd have to be more numbers focused to be in the strategy and planning, because you're looking at like amount of spend, you're looking at reach, you're looking at engagement, you're looking at ROI on these marketing initiatives. Whereas when you're in the creative agency, you're not doing that.
Right.
You're creating content.
Right. So knowing too, like creative agency, maybe, I mean, of course you always have to be organized in whatever professional career you have, but if you're on the planning side, like you have to be really organized, because also you are leading a lot of people, and Whereas like the creative agency, you think, right, like people show up in, you know, their creative New York City outfits, and it's a little more casual.
Tattoos, khakis, beanie, you know.
Right.
I can picture them.
Right. Yeah. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the other side, right, it's like a valuable skill is, right, organization, project management, even leadership capabilities and being able to like manage a team, making sure that things are, you know, tasks are meeting their deadlines. And also like numbers too. It's really interesting. Like math actually is a pretty big component.
Yeah.
In advertising and digital media.
It is.
Unless you're on the creative side.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, because everything that you do, even working in marketing at a startup, has to be justified back to the founders or back to the team, like to the marketing team, whoever it is, whoever your stakeholders are. Numbers is what's going to get you the yes.
Right.
You have to be able to prove, yes, this campaign is going to bring in money. It's going to generate business. It's going to generate new signups. It's going to generate paying users because XYZ, here's the breakdown.
Right.
Yeah, so it is a lot of math things.
So math is really important in even understanding like the scale of your impact and one, like making you just sound smarter.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So if you're looking at your KPI, key performance indicator, which for example, say is the amount of views that your content is generating on Instagram, for example. If you're able to speak intellectually and say, okay, like we saw a 25% increase in our views this day to this day, and we are attributing XYZ to this event. That is an educated, informed update that you can give to a client where they are then able to bring that to their CMO, right? And their CEO and say, hey, we have a 20% increase in XYZ, right? Like always bringing data and numbers, percentages into your optimizations, your reporting, like in any way that you were able to validate what you are seeing is hugely, hugely helpful in just like crediting yourself.
Yeah. And also in being in a client services business, if you do not prove your value as the agency, they will cut you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they will just move on to another agency. They will find someone who's going to either bring them a better ROI or who is going to be able to better explain and show them the numbers behind the better outcomes from the campaigns that you ran. Even if they were great campaigns, if you can't justify that back to your stakeholder, whether for you that's the client, for me that was like our founders, they would just say, okay, cut this initiative and move on to the next thing.
Right.
And I think another thing is there's like these stigmas around being the people who work in social media, and it's like a girly career and like, oh, they're like not as like intelligent, or like, oh yeah, they're just like TikTok people.
Right.
But at the end of the day, these are the places where users are spending their time. They're hanging out there. They trust people on there.
Right.
So being involved in social media is not by any means like a dumb career, quote unquote.
Right.
But you do have to be able to bring those numbers back to the executives and justify what you're doing and what kind of impact it's having on the business so that you sound educated and smart and like you're making the money. Because that's what they care about.
Right. And even like thinking like, okay, this entire industry is girly with the influencers and, you know, it's like, no, frou-frou, blah, blah, blah. But in my 5-year tenure in this agency, I have had my hands on and contributed to over $100 million worth of advertising.
Mic drop. I'm sorry, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Like, it's not
a
frou-frou
career.
Yeah.
No.
Like, you have big impact. And, like, again, like, if you go to an agency, your likelihood of getting to that level is much higher, too.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This was such a great chat. Honestly, like, even somebody that works in this space, I learned a lot from talking to you, and I think anybody who listens to this, I hope, will as well. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Professional Life Crisis. If you enjoyed this episode, I would so appreciate if you would leave it a 5-star review on wherever you are listening. Talk to you in the next one.